Hello everybody, this is September and I'm checking in from the Hanure Server again this morning. And in this video I want to talk about a couple things that I have found interesting. The point of this video was to try to determine if the mysterious garden powder drop rate has been reduced for the non-ancestral crates. That was sparked by a comment in yesterday's video about the ancestral crates, where a user said that he had opened, I think it was like 50, and got like 2 or 3 garden powders, which to me doesn't seem correct, but I had not tested it in 3.5, so I figured I'd go ahead and do that. So in the pursuit of that, what I tried to do is get the same amount of crates as I did in the Ancestral video, which was posted yesterday in 3.5, and then compare the drop rates of the mysterious garden powder. Now, I wouldn't have made a video just based off of a comment, because a comment could be, he could have misunderstood how many he opened, or he felt like he opened that many and didn't, or there could have been a myriad of things that contributed to that comment. So, but there was another thing that I had been interested in ever since yesterday's video, where I said that the 3-time loot event that we have going on right now doesn't really seem to be helping that much. And I thought, well, I'll go to these zones that I normally go to, do my crate farming, and just kind of see, am I getting more crates? Am I getting less crates? How is that working? And I've come to the conclusion, based off of the statement that I said yesterday, that there is a point of no return in the amount of crates that you'll get. And I'm going to explain that here in a little bit. But before I get into that, we're going to go ahead and open some of these purses up. And this video is in a little bit different format. I'm actually just kind of free balling here, but I will go back and narrate some parts that I might sound confusing in. So first of all, I wanted to show you everything that happened. I did get a lot more of the higher teardrops, and I'll discuss more of what I call teardrops. But what I'm talking about is, like, for these 64 Prince crates, I got 6 Aurorian metallic crates. That's way above anything that I've ever done. And then if you look in the Jesters crates, out of the 62, I got 7 lost metallic crates. So that number was up. And of course, the noble crates, they have no high tier item like that. But as you can see here, the armor pieces and the weapon pieces, those also dropped significantly more than usual. Okay, I wanted to clear up the bag before I got into this next section here. We're going to go ahead and open these crates, and I wanted to do this on video because I could have done it off video, and I could have showed you a screenshot of everything that I had when I started. But I wanted to show you, when I give you this information, I want you to feel like it is authentic and it's not something that somebody just kind of threw together. So we're going to open up all these on video, although I will speed it up to kind of keep the time down. So let's go ahead and open up the Prince crates first. Okay, so that was a total of 64 Prince crates, which is exactly how many we had of the Ancestral crates. And I will do a spreadsheet here at the end. And so let me put this stuff away so we don't taint any of the stuff before I record it. And I'm going to go ahead and start opening the Jesters next. Okay, so that was the Jesters crates. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video so I can record all the loot, and then we can take a look at the values here in 3.5. So bear with me, because if I don't do that now, stuff is going to start stacking up in my chest, and then it's going to cause problems. Okay, I've got that data recorded, so let's go ahead and open up these last noble crates. This is 63 of them. Okay, so that was 63 of those. Let me record the data. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at a spreadsheet, and we're going to take a look at the silver to labor values of all 4 of the loot crates that I've done, which is the Ancestrals, or Ancestors, the Princes, the Jesters, and the Nobles. And then we're also going to take a look at the Mysterious Garden Powder drop rate. And I believe yesterday I said in the Ancestors video that the drop rate of non-ancestral coin purchase was about 15%, whereas the Ancestors was about 70%. So let's see if that holds true. Okay, so I'm going to recap what's going on here in case you find the spreadsheet online. There will be a link to my channel, so hopefully you'll find the video that talks about this. Okay, so this is the spreadsheet from yesterday. I didn't change a dang thing. This is, we're figuring out over here in this first table, we're going to figure out the silver to labor ratio on the coin purses. I did that by looking at 10 coin purses, taking the labor and dividing it out. So at the ancestral level, you get about 4 silver. If you have no proficiency, if you're maxed, you get about 6.5, 6.5 silver per labor point. Then over here, the value of the contents that I got was 726.8, and the silver to labor ratio for the crates is about 14 silver per labor. And then for max proficiency, when you have the max labor reduction, is about 24 silver. And then here is the main thing that we're looking at, is the drop rate of the garden powder. We got 45 in 64 crates, which gives us a 70% drop rate. Let's go ahead and take a look at the princes. These ratios have actually, I think they're a little worse, but maybe they didn't change it and I just didn't pay attention before. But coin purses, as everybody probably already knows, is not really what you want to be doing with your labor, unless you're just trying to level. And if you're trying to level up your larceny and you don't have anything else to do, okay, go for it. But so we're down to less than 3 silver for no skill level, and then up to a little over 4.25 silver per labor point if you're maxed. And so here's an interesting thing. Because the values of everything that drops in the Prince's crates are down, this is actually probably the worst thing that you could be farming right now. So if you look at the silver to labor ratio over here, it's 11 silver. And then if you're maxed, if you got max proficiency, you're at, almost up to 20 silver per labor point. But that's not as good as the Ancestrals. So the Ancestrals are way better than Princes at the moment. So let's go ahead and move on to the Jesters. Again, less than 3 silver on the Jesters, a little over 4 silver if you're max proficiency per labor point. And then because this stuff is actually a little bit more in demand, we actually end up with a much better silver to labor ratio than the Ancestrals. And this is something that I mentioned in Twitch on my Friday stream. I said because the labor is so low, it's a disproportional, because the cost, well, I don't know what you want to look at. If you say the Ancestral, because these things cost 80 labor to open versus a Jesters, which only takes 10. And yes, the drop rate on the garden powder is lower, it's 20%, but it's disproportionate to the amount that you get, out of these. So if I would have spent the same amount of labor in Jesters, I would have made, even if I had no skill proficiency, I would have made still more silver than that. So 14 silver here, 22 silver here per labor point here. Over here, if you're max proficiency, about 23.5, and over here you're almost up to 40 silver per labor point, just because we've got different drops that are in demand, and that actually didn't even factor in here. Let's go ahead and fix that. So yeah, there we go. We're actually 25 silver per labor point, no proficiency, and then 43 silver per labor point at max level. And that's the Jesters. And if we take a look at the nobles, we're going to have the same problem here. So we're going to go and do this by this. Okay, so you're at 27 silver and 36 silver. It seems like the Jester crates are really probably the best thing that you can do for your silver to labor ratios. And let's finally look at all the garden powder drop rates. The Ancestral, again, 70%. Princes in this batch was 15% or 14%. And the Jester crates was 20%. And the Noble crates was a little over 15%. Now, there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that is the 3 times event and why I feel like it wasn't working. Okay, so what I did here is I took the amount of coin purses and figured out the average of the ratio of the amount of crates I got for the coin purses that I received. Ancestors was one of the higher ones, 23.6. Princes and Jesters was lower, but the Nobles was actually fairly higher. But if you average them all out, what I'm seeing here is that you're getting about a 20%, let's just say 20% because it makes the math easier to show you what I mean. You get about a 20% chance of what I'm going to call a loot bucket or a loot slot, of that loot slot being generated as a crate. Now that's important because what I think is happening in Archeage is you have, let's say, a 2 times event, and then you go to war, and then you use a couple loot pots, and now all of a sudden you're getting a crate or coin purse every single drop. Okay, so what's happening is it's saying, okay, you've reached the max. Every time you kill a mob, it's going to have either the coin purse or the crate. But it doesn't necessarily mean that if you have a higher loot chance that you're going to get more crates. It only means that you're going to trigger that slot 100% of the time. So once you get to the max, which all these were, like every single kill for the Prince, Jesters, and Nobles I did today, I paid very close attention. Every single one of those kills dropped either a coin purse or crate. But even with this 3 times event, I didn't see any more crates than I normally would. So what I think is happening is that the loot is basically saying, it doesn't matter if it was a 50 times event, a 10 times event, or whatever. Once you get to every mob dropping a coin purse or crate, or nearly everyone, you're wasting buffs. And if you're just doing crate farming. So if you go to a war zone and every mob you kill, it's probably every mob you kill is dropping either or. It's probably not worth using any of those loot pots, or at least nothing that's very expensive. And so let me show you what this actually looks like. Okay, so let's say we've got a 100% trigger with whatever loot that we're running to trigger this. So when it says, okay, loot slot 1 100% of the time, it's going to trigger, but then it pulls from a list like this, where you got 4 chances of it being a coin purse and only 1 chance of it being a crate. And that averages out to about 20%. So if I told somebody, hey, if I told you, hey, pick a number between 1 and 5, and it was truly random, every person's going to pick a different number, 1, 3, 4, 5. And if it's truly random, 20% of the people would actually pick 5, and they would actually get a crate. So I think that's how it works. And once you get to this max 100% and you're triggering this every time, that's all you can do. But now there's other things like the loot bucket 2 or loot slot 2, which would be armor and weapons. And those do not drop every time you kill a mob, even in Warzone with the 3 times loot drop rate. And we won't really know exactly how this averages out unless we start recording weapons, but nobody cares about the armor and weapon drops, so it's probably not even worth talking about. But then there's another loot slot, like loot slot 3, which is the metallic crates. And these are very rare. So this might have like a 50% chance of drop. This maybe, let's say 20%. This, let's say 2%. And so, yes, when you get a 3 times here, you're only at a 6% chance. And then, so if you were really trying to get metallic crates, yeah, you could take a 3 times buff, and really you might not see much more than you're used to. But then you could, do all the loot pots, do all 5 loot pots, get the crater cub out, everything that you can do, guild buff, everything that you can do, housey buff, everything that you can do to increase that, and you still cannot reach every kill equals a metallic crate. So that is where the loot buff would actually help you, is in these harder slots. And in Whale Song Harbor and Aegis Island, you would have another loot slot. Let's call it loot slot 4, and that would be for the cursed armor scrap or the acid drop. And that might have a similar low percent drop rate. And so the 3-time event, while helpful for these harder to get stuff, it is actually pointless if you're only doing crate farming. That is my theory. There's the math right there over here showing you how I came up with this theory. You guys can you can debate it if you like, but that's my theory that I'm putting forward. Once you max out and you're hitting this loot slot 1 every time, 100% of the time, then it doesn't really matter how much buffs you have on. And we know that the drop rates on this stuff is so low, and it's relatively not as valuable as a loot potion. Some of them are very expensive. It's kind of not worth doing. Tell me what you think about that. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for the video. I hope this video was both helpful and informative. That's the goal of pretty much every video I make. So please let me know if you found it helpful and informative. If you'd like to support me, there's going to be links to my Twitch, Twitter, Patreon, and again, I want to do a reminder that every Friday I will do a stream on Twitch. If you've never caught one, hopefully you can find me on Friday, and then we're going to take a look at the current news, and we're going to take a look at what we can do to make money. So with that being said, okay, until next time, September saying, be well.